So I know the Friends of Lynn Beach are going to be handing out something in a little while. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Pardon, Bob?
I think the committee's a good beginning.
It's a start. And I mean, we're a lot further today than we were 2 weeks ago. And I can tell you that communication has opened up with DCR and the state and the city. Our state delegation is working diligently to ratify the problem. There's State Rep Dan Cahill, who just came in. And Megan from the mayor's office is here as well. I don't know if anybody from the state delegation wants to come up and say anything. I don't blame you, I wouldn't want to either. But just to show you that they are here tonight, as well as the town of Swampscott, and that we are going to start working on this. Hopefully what's going to happen is the 5 committee members will meet at least once a month, and every 2 to 3 months we'll come back and give us a heads up as to what's going on. This isn't going to be fixed overnight. It's been a problem for years, and we're going to do our best to ratify the problem. Don't make me say, okay, that's it, go home. Go ahead, Jane.
I don't know if it's too early, but do you think when we have people from the Lynn Water and Sewer, if they could kind of give us, without putting them on the spot, a little synopsis of what their take is on the whole, on the problem that we're having down at the beach? I'm just wondering if
I can ask Bob to come up. He's not an engineer. He is here representing them tonight. But from everything that I've been told, that they are, as I said at the last meeting, they are doing testing. And their figures tell them that there is not anyone's household dumping into the system. It's not saying there isn't any raw storage that's in there. Their numbers are would have to be up in 20,000s. So, and they are willing to work with the city, with the state delegation. That's why they're going to appoint Bob onto the committee. Any other questions?
Why aren't you appointing an engineer?
If you could come up to the podium, because
Why wouldn't you want an engineer on the committee as well? Not just a representative who could talk to engineers, but have someone there on the committee who can...
There is an engineer at the Water and Sewer that will back the committee, Anthony Marino.
All right.
Go ahead, Bob. Do you want to come up here, or you want to go to the podium?
Suggesting that maybe we'd have the meetings at the Water and Sewer, the conference room, and we'd have all the technical expertise right there. If there's any questions during our meetings or whatever, so we're planning on doing that. Conversation with you today.
Yep. And I just want to say that the Water and Sewer does meet once a month on Monday nights. We can either have the committee meet the same night as the Water and Sewer meets, and have it prior to the meeting, and then those meetings are televised, so you'll be able to see them. Are there any other questions?
I just have some comments.
Could please.
I'm Doug Maitland. I live at 41 Lynn Shore Drive. 30 years ago, when they restored Lynn Shore Drive, the Metropolitan District Commission spent thousands of dollars to separate the 2 streams into 2 separate pipes, one coming from Swampscott, the other coming from Lynn into Kings Beach. At that time, the MDC said, whoever is polluting Kings Beach is going to pay, and pay heavily, to fix it. This is at least 30 years later, and the problem has not been addressed and fixed. That's number one. Number two, the DCR, who is now in charge of Kings Beach, said to the public that lives in that area that there are 3 testing spots that they test daily to see the quality of the water. At those 3 spots, there would be a flag indicating the quality of that water. We had a meeting a month ago. That meeting was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we had a storm. During that storm, my house received 1 inch of rain. I looked at the flag, which is at the bottom of Pierce Road, and that flag said, Thursday the water was fine, Friday the water was fine, and Saturday morning the red flag went up from that storm on Wednesday. The following Wednesday, we had another torrential storm. At my home, we received 3/4 of an inch of rain. Thursday, it said it was fine to swim with that flag. Friday, fine. And then Saturday morning, the red flag went up. That is not enough notice in regards to when the problem exists on Wednesday evening and the red flag goes up on Saturday morning. Number one.
It takes 48 to 72 hours for it to incubate, so they can't just go down and test it and say immediately that the water is contaminated.
But if you have almost an inch of rain in both storms, you know the next day that beach is polluted.
They honestly don't. Sometimes it's not. Last year, you only had several occurrences where the beach was contaminated, and we had dozens of rainstorms. So it's a process.
The other problem is the DCI promised a flag at the 3 sites that the readings were taken. The flag at the end of Pierce Road, where we were told was one of the sites, has disappeared and is not there. It's been missing for 2 weeks. Why?
We'll find out. I'm going to ask Terry to read the letter between DCR and our office. Between Lisa Nerick and the DCR, in regards to how we're going to notify the public.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you again for your help with this. Kings Beach is quite the hot topic these days, and hopefully we can all work together to create better communication to inform the public of potential health hazards. Per MAPH regulations, DCR has always red flag posted beaches with the standard/uniform message that basically says that due to elevated bacteria in a particular swimming area, DCR advises that swimming can cause illness. We do not ever state that there is no swimming or physically remove people from the water. We would appreciate very much that the message board display the message below. Kings Beach, elevated bacteria, swim at own risk. Also, please send over a list of people you would like to receive Kings Beach daily test results via email. Thank you, Dennis Fitzpatrick, Emergency Preparedness and Response Coordinator, Department of Conservation and Recreation.
So the names that are going to be on that list are the Water and Sewer, the Health Department, the Mayor's Office, City Council, DPW, and Bob Tucker. So we know that there's been an issue with how the public has been notified, and we're working on that with DCR. So we're trying to take care of that. Are there any other questions?
Just to follow up, I'm Elizabeth Novak. I live at 32 Lewis Street in Lynn. On June 30th in the Item Live, there was an article about the beach, And I went for a walk later that day and the flag was still blue. The next day, the flag was still blue. I called 911 because if it's being reported and nobody's being notified, like, I want to know, like, what's the accountability for when they get the test results? How soon after is that flag changed? Is it 7 days a week? Is it within a few hours, or do you know that?
It's usually within 48 to 72 hours. They come down, they test it daily, but then it has to have an incubation period. And it's the same thing after that the water's been tested, they have to test it again. So let's say yesterday it was dirty and the counts were high, but today they were okay. You're not going to know until tomorrow or the next day that it's okay to go swimming, unless you go on their website. So that's why we're asking them to make us aware of what the situation is on a daily basis.
And what's the count for it to be okay if you're looking at their website? What's the count for it to be considered safe?
I believe it's below 150.
Okay, thank you.
Laurie Ehrlich? Can you come up to the podium, Laurie?
Good evening, Councilman Cyr. I appreciate you holding this meeting, and I'm really glad that you're bringing this issue to a wider audience. My question, which I could have asked from my seat, is I'm wondering the construction of the committee that is forming that's going to meet, as Mr. Fennell said, at the Water and Sewer Commission. Is there flexibility in the construction of that commission?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, then I would like to be on that commission if that was okay.
You're appointed. How's
Okay,
that?
thank you.
Dulcie doesn't know it, but she's also on the committee too. I already talked to Senator Creighton about that, so. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Hi there, Ravi Shankar. Just moved to the area, 26 Greystone Park, and have just been here for a couple of months, and have been swimming, just are kind of finding out about all of the issues because we're right on the beach and we go swimming a lot. And a couple of things, someone mentioned after a rainstorm, after one particularly heavy rainstorm, we saw a kind of almost synthetic material. It was a plasticine kind of thing coming out of the drain pipes. All the rest of the water was shimmering, and this was a kind of blob that was moving out. And it was very disturbing. And when you say that it takes 48 to 72 hours to test and incubate those results, there's always going to be some lag in the information that's being conveyed. And I'm wondering, it seems like that's dealing with the symptomatic issues, not the causes. And so is there a way to find out when is this dumping happening and what is actually being dumped?
What's being dumped into the water?
Yeah, because it seems, I mean, what I saw that day was not anything that we've seen since. It seemed to me to be heavily toxic, whatever it was,
Right.
and it seemed like they were using the cover of the rainfall to push this stuff out.
Yep. I can tell, I know this for a fact that Lynn Water and Sewer monitors that stream. They do take counts. They do, if they see oil in the system, or they see fat, grease, anything like that, they try to trace back to the source, gasoline. And even though you might think that you're seeing something that might be hazardous coming out of there, I think if there was, the water and sewer would jump on that right away. There are 2 pipes there. I know the town of Swampscott is working on their side. They're trying to take care of the issue. They've been dumping a lot of money the last several years into their system. Their system is as old as ours. When we separated the system 20 years ago, we thought that the problem was going to be solved. Obviously, it's not. There's a lot of runoff that's going in there. So if it were me and it rained out, I wouldn't go in the water for at least 72 hours afterwards to make sure that the water's safe. That's me personally. I'm not telling you not to go in there. I'm just saying that that's what I would do. Any other questions?
Councilor Cyr,
So,
He's actually the town manager,
Yeah.
and you're being put on the spot. He's
all
got to
right.
leave in a couple minutes.
my name is Sean Fitzgerald. I'm Swampscott's town administrator. I've been the town administrator for the last 2 years. But I've also been a resident of the North Shore for the last 49, and so I go to Kings Beach with my 2 6-year-old boys and my 10-year-old boy, and we fly kites. And it has always bothered me that there has been a longstanding problem with the water quality at that beach. You don't have to look at the flags. You can read the Boston Globe. You can do research. And we've got a challenge in this generation to really solve this problem. I couldn't be more inspired, though, about the leadership that we have in the region. I think we have citizens and leaders, both in Lynn and in Swampscott, that recognize that Kings Beach needs to come back to what it was a few generations ago, where every family, everybody could go down there and celebrate such a wonderful resource area and really be safe. And when I go with my little boys and I see other little children there, and I know that when it rains and the clay pipes that are in Lynn and in Swampscott continue to have life cycles that have to be replaced, we've got to get back to those investments. Swampscott has invested millions. We're going to continue to invest millions. We're in the middle of a $2 million effort to line some of these pipes, to mitigate some of the impairments. $2 million, yep. We have 50 miles of pipes in Swampscott. We have $75 million worth of outstanding obligations that we have to somehow grapple with. We have schools that need to be replaced. We have all sorts of complexities. We need to work in partnership with state and federal funding programs. We couldn't have better legislative delegations. We have some of the most knowledgeable, some of the most dedicated people working on our behalf to try to identify some of these funding programs. But we've got to work together. We've got to bring in a team that can start to put incremental regional initiatives together. We're in this together. We're fatally intertwined in terms of our potential to solve some of these problems. And my responsibility here in Swampscott is to try to solve a lot of these problems in a way that makes the most sense in terms of how we balance the needs. Swampscott did just finish a harbor and waterfront plan, and we proposed a vision for Kings Beach that is only going to be successful if we're able to really solve some of the environmental impairments that exist there. So we're excited about the role that we can play as a region, but certainly, I'm happy to come back in a more formal way and give you a detailed presentation on the infrastructure work that we're investing in. And part of that is, outlined in an administrative order that the town received a few years ago by the EPA. It's all part of a federal responsibility as well to address this problem. Happy to answer questions and certainly come back for a future meeting.
Thanks, Sean. I also want to point out Councilor at Large Brian Field is here, and I'm not sure if I mentioned State Rep Dan Cahill is back there in Tulsa representing Senator Creighton's office. Are there any other questions? Okay, so the 6-member committee will send out a notice, and they'll probably be meeting in the next 2 weeks. I love all these notes. School committee member Jared Nicholson, I can't believe I didn't see him out there. There he is, hiding way back there. So hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, the committee will start meeting, and at least once every 2 months, we'll have a meeting back here where everybody can get some knowledge as to what's going on, okay? And please, you can call our office, ask for Terry, you can call any one of us, you can call me, 781-760-7246. And I know Bob Fennell loves getting phone calls up at the Water and Sewer, 598-2600. So, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Thank you. And I know that the Friends of Lynn Beach are going to be handing out some stuff, right?